Hello, I'm Dick Corsell, and welcome to Community Care Network Connections. Community Care Network Connections is a show that features the programs of Rutland Mental Health Services and Rutland Community Programs. And today we are very pleased to have as our guests Cinda Payton, who is the Eldercare Clinician, that's a mouthful, Eldercare Clinician with Rutland Mental Health Services, and also Sandy Conrad, who is the Executive Director of the Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging. And today's program is going to be on the Eldercare Program of Rutland Mental Health Services in collaboration with the Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging. So welcome to both of you. This is a great topic. The recent census, the 2010 census came out, and it appears that we're an aging population, in fact, as we sit. But the Rutland County region is aging. The population is growing older, and there are more individuals entering that stage of life than there are entering the younger stages of life. So this becomes a topic, I think, that has a significant amount of relevance for Rutland County in particular. So I'm going to start with Cinda. You're the Eldercare Clinician with Rutland Mental Health Services. What is the Eldercare Program?
It is a home-based counseling program, and in addition, we are in Rutland. We're fortunate enough to have an advanced practice nurse who also prescribes for my program if I feel like a client needs it. And so that's what I go around the county providing counseling services.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about how this program began. And Sandy, why don't we ask you, how did this program begin, and what were some of the reasons the origins for why this program evolved?
Mm-hmm. I began with the Council on Aging in 1998. I started out as a case manager, and that was before the Eldercare Clinician program came along. So I began in the process of not having the mental health services for our seniors in our community. So as a case manager, we were going to the executive directors of the agencies and our supervisors and saying, we're seeing these mental health issues with our seniors, but we have no one to help support them, nobody trained. As a case manager, we had training in how to connect seniors to resources and state benefits, but nothing that dealt with their mental health. So we started advocacy work at the State House. In Rutland, in the Rutland area, they had a peer-to-peer program, I understand. I worked actually in the Central Vermont Council on Aging, but in the Rutland, they had an initial program that provided peer support for seniors for counseling. It was more of a friendly visit kind of situation. If someone had lost someone, it was just somebody that they knew was going to come, be a support to them. But they weren't trained in mental health and in counseling. And so luckily in 2000, we were able to get some funding from the state and partnered with the area's mental health providers in all the counties to have people like Cinda be able to come and see our seniors and counsel them.
So you've been involved with the program for
It's been over 10 years. For over 10 years.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more, Cinda, in terms of the people that you serve, because I think for many people, when we look at services provided to our older citizens, we think more in terms of daily activities of daily living, and visiting nurses and things like that. Yeah. This is something that sounds like it is a new approach to wraparound supports with people as they get older. So who are some of the people that you serve with the Eldercare program?
Well, we serve people that are 60 or over who live in Rutland County, and generally speaking, I try and serve people because Rutland County has the second highest population of seniors in the state, and so there's potentially a lot of customers for this program. I try and serve people that don't have another option. Some people have greater means, or they're more mobile and they can go to another psychotherapist, but we serve people that would have difficulty getting services if we didn't provide them. And we think it's important to serve them in their home because they have mobility issues or transportation issues. And also there's a stigma about coming into the clinic, and especially with this generation. They might have depression, they might have an anxiety disorder, those are very common, PTSD, people who are dependent on alcohol, really just about any mental health issue that's impairing their functioning or their quality of life.
Yeah, I just wanted to reinforce that because that was an issue that when we were going to the State House saying it was really difficult to get our seniors to the mental health provider clinic. And so being able to have a person that would go into the senior's home, one, I mean, I think you make a really important point about the stigma that was associated with it. This generation of elders, they didn't go to counselors. It wasn't so prevalent in their generation to do that, and if they did, it held a stigma to it. And so having somebody come into their home, you know, other people then wouldn't know that something may be going on with them with mental health reasons. So I think that was really important to say that that was one of the main reasons we liked, and also that they would go to their home. It's also too important to say how important it's evolved around not just the clients we serve, but also my staff and ourselves. When we have really difficult situations that we work with people with abuse, exploitation, Cinda's there to help or even go with the case manager so that there's this team approach that goes that not only focuses on the well-being of the person through their environment, but through their mental health issues that may be going on. So I just think this approach has been really well received by the elders because of it.
It also, when you go into somebody's house, my dad was a small town doctor, and he used to tell me that you could learn more from a home visit than you could ever learn from an office call, and he was right. You learn a lot more about the individual when you go into their home, and it's much easier to help them with this information. And also, it kind of levels the playing field. When you're in their home, they're more comfortable. It's not like you're up here and they're down here. There's a stronger collaboration. It really is, it was a well set up model that I stepped into. They really knew what they were doing when they set up the program. And Rutland really sticks to the model. Yeah. We are sort of like, we're known in the state for sticking to the elder care model.
And that model being that Cinda is situated in the Council on Aging. Some of the other elder care clinicians have offices that are in the mental health providers' offices.
Most of them
but
do, yeah.
Cinda has a space in our office. She has an extension at our office. You know, she comes to our office every day. So we have that access to her that can be as easy as just, oh, Cinda's in her office, I got a question about one of my clients, and you know, if she can, she'll be able to talk with the case manager about it. So having her be in our presence has also been a help too.
Oh, it's a huge help to the clients.
Yeah.
And that's one of the attributes of these shows has been featuring these collaborations with community agencies, because most agencies can't do everything on their own. They have particular expertise, they have resources that they have to appropriate, but this ability to work together, and in the case of having a Rutland mental health clinician as skilled as Cinda to do the clinical services, but do them within the context of the Southwestern Vermont Council of Aging, there has to be something that seems to be a program where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It just seems like that level of cooperation and collaboration and communication is of great benefit to the people that you serve.
It is tremendous, and there's a lot going on at the Council on Aging. So my clients have the benefit of the full range that they offer, such as they have a dietitian on staff. So if my clients need a dietitian, they have diabetes, they don't know how to plan and prepare food for that condition, I can send a dietitian out. They have AmeriCorps volunteers, and AmeriCorps volunteers do all kinds of things for seniors. They teach them how to use computers, they help them pack up so they can move, all kinds of things. They have the senior companion program, so I can send volunteers and to take my clients grocery shopping or to visit with them once a week if they need that. There are all kinds of programs that I can access because I'm there and because I know about it. And that is sort of the hallmark of this particular program, Eldercare, is that it's a community collaboration. This is a resource-rich area, Rutland is, and I feel like if my clients need something, they need transportation, they need some funding for some specialized equipment, or they need someone to help them move or to mow their lawn or to shovel their walk. You can find it. There is a lot of good help in this area, and it is a tremendously wonderful benefit to my clients.
Yeah, whenever I go out to speak to seniors, I say, we are, one phone call with hundreds of answers. And I said, I think there's pretty much anything we won't do. And one guy said to me, "Will you wash my windows?" And
That's
I said,
wonderful.
"We actually will," because our AmeriCorps program, our AmeriCorps volunteers do direct service, which they'll even wash their windows. And so I just think you're right. It's wonderful because it's just another eye of a person going into the senior's home and then seeing not only maybe just the mental health issues that are going on, but other issues that could support the person. So
it feels like a
anybody who goes in,
complete program. It feels like we've got it covered. And
right.
that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that you would deal with this population, with elders, with respect to the clinical and mental health services. I mean, I think most everyone now understands that, for example, chronic illness can manifest itself with certain mental health challenges as people grasp with, changing bodies and inability to do things that they used to be able to do, or the same level of enjoyment in doing them. Would you talk just a little bit about what some of the issues you encounter with an older population as it relates to things that you can provide mental health support for?
Sure. Well, you pretty much hit it on the head. One of the things that kind of surprised me when I first started working in this particular position is that seniors have a lot of health issues. And for instance, breathing disorders are very common. A lot of folks on continuous oxygen, they have COPD or emphysema or asthma, and it limits their mobility. But when you can't breathe well, it can really stir up an anxiety disorder. So people with breathing problems often have panic or generalized anxiety disorder, and I can go in there and teach them how to use cognitive strategies to alleviate their anxiety and stop the panic. They have a lot. They may be taking a lot of medications. They may have a lot of losses, and I think one of the toughest, for me, in my opinion, one of the toughest losses for seniors is the loss of their own health and their own function, and that kind of grief often needs counseling to get through. It's too hard to go through that on your own.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, even if they, like they can't drive anymore, here's a person who's driven their whole life. We know how hard it is if you can't drive in our areas because, it's difficult. Transportation is for us. So those kinds of losses, or being able to just even clean your house anymore, or make your bed or do your laundry. I mean, there's just other losses other than just the loss of your siblings or your spouse or something like that that's going on. It's a continual process of dealing with losses and how they process that and go through that, which can make them become even more and more isolated. So that's a huge piece, I think, of having somebody else be able to come in and help them draw them back out, that there's still other things that are out there for them and their quality of life has still got value and worth.
Yeah,
so.
Those are good points you're making. And I think when you start to lose function, you lose your eyesight, or you do lose your ability to drive, there's a helplessness that you feel, and helplessness can really drive depression. And I can give you an example of this. I was called in to counsel a woman who lived in a congregate housing site. The resident service coordinator was the person who asked me to get involved. She was very depressed, and she was having a lot of crying spells. And what had happened is her husband had died about a year before, and he was not only a wonderful husband, but he was her primary caregiver because this woman had advanced Parkinson's. And she did not have VNA services at the time. She was living alone in this congregate site. There were people there who helped her, neighbors, but other than that, she was really managing on her own. And when I went in to see her, what I discovered is what was really driving her depression was the Parkinson's, because she would try and get dressed and transfer from her bed in the morning to her scooter so she could go out into the kitchen or to the living room and conduct her life. And her muscles wouldn't respond. And she would be literally stuck on her bed, sometimes for 2 hours. And she would sit there and just cry with helpless rage because there was, she couldn't move. She could not get her muscles to respond. So when I went in to counsel her, I told her, I cannot change the Parkinson's, but I can help you have a different response to this, to what's going on, so that you're not angry with yourself, because she would just sit there and fume, I can't do anything. I'm helpless. What's the point, So what we did was, she was really good at this. We taught her to, instead of getting upset with herself when her muscles wouldn't respond, to say, oh, okay, I'm not going anywhere. What do I want to do instead? And we said she liked to do things like crosswords and word searches and those handheld electronic games like Yahtzee and stuff. Any place that she normally transferred, we put stuff for her to do. And so when her muscles wouldn't respond, she would just say, okay, what do I want to do instead? Instead of this whole, oh man, having that, she just learned to respond in a compassionate way to herself. And what she found was, not only she was so good at this, she was, she really recovered quickly. I think I only worked with her for 8 months. But what she found is when she had a compassionate response to herself, when her muscles wouldn't work, they would work better. She no longer was trapped somewhere for 2 hours. She said it was amazing.
So her frustration made her even be more.
Yeah, there is such a mind-body connection. And when she had this loving response to herself, okay, I'm not going anywhere. What do I want to do? It's just matter of fact, no longer beating yourself up about it. This is just the way it is. Okay, what do I want to do? It changed how she physically functioned too.
Well, let me ask, Cinda, you've worked with a number of different populations in your career in mental health, developmental disabilities. So you've seen a lot of different approaches. You've talked, both you and Sandy have talked a little bit about some of the challenges that older individual may have related to their mental health. But how is it different for a senior? How does the senior population differ in terms of your approach from a mental health standpoint, as opposed to, for example, your previous work with younger individuals who may have mental health issues?
Well, that's a good question. What probably the most important change is that you cannot ignore their physical health. The two play together, and so I do need to know a fair amount about medical problems and medicines and things
medications.
Like that.
That's what I was thinking too.
Because you'll get somebody that has, I'm not kidding, a list of like 24 meds.
Right.
And you really need to understand what's going on, because when symptoms emerge, you're not sure sometimes whether, okay, is this depression or is this person blunted because of a side effect from the med? So it's very important to know that. And as I said, there are physical conditions that exacerbate mental health issues and vice versa. So that has been something I really needed to get up to speed on. And I had that kind of a background anyway, so that was helpful. I do know a fair amount about medications. Secondly, these elders have more loss. And loss is cumulative, we know that. You don't get better at it. It actually accumulates. And so I've had to learn a lot about grief counseling and teaching people how to have a compassionate response to themselves when they're grieving. But the delightful part of how it's different is that they're better at it. They're just really good at counseling. They are very candid. They know they don't have another 50 years, so they don't waste time. They're very motivated. That wasn't always the case with younger folks. And they have a lot of wisdom and skills to draw on. And so it is. And the other thing about seniors is they're very grateful.
Yes, I was going to say that.
They're
even the smallest thing that you do.
It's such a pleasure to help them, because they're so thankful for what you do for them, for your caring, for your presence. They're happy to see you, and counseling isn't always easy, and yet they make it easy. They make it a lot easier.
Sandy, let me ask you. You both are very passionate about this. Why is this program important? Obviously, there's been a societal shift in some respects, because I think probably not too long ago, you're getting older, that's just the way it is. Right. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
Get used to it.
Right.
Something's obviously changed. So why is this program so important now?
I mean, for me, I think that it's important that a senior feels like they haven't been forgotten, that, I think the more that they have this loss, they withdraw from the community. I actually use the phrase about it's like remembering, like a hyphen, that we are bringing them back to members of the community. And I think having a counselor person come in, talk with them, mental health, or even the services that we provide through the case management services of the agencies, we are trying to remember them back into the community. I think that there's this sense of elders that as they age, they pull away, and we're trying to bring them back in. And I think these services do that. And I think Cinda has that great skill that brings those people back in to do that. And I think that's the main piece for me, is that people know that they are still a member of our community. They have still lots of worth and things that they can give to all of us.
Yeah, and the Council on Aging is about helping people age in place.
Yeah.
And they're it's about giving people choices. And I really believe that the Eldercare Program does help people age in place. Mm-hmm. When they receive mental health treatment, not only are they emotionally and mentally in a better space, but usually their health improves too. It has been pretty dramatic at times. And I think the program saves money. I really do, because it improves people's health and their quality of life. And it's really joyful to watch people live the way they want to. You know?
Yeah, let's talk just briefly about the collaboration, because a Community Care Network does collaborate at Rutland Mental Health Services, Rutland Community Programs, with many different community agencies, as we've said before, because not any agency can do it all, and there's so many complex needs that often cross disciplines. But Sandy, could you just talk a little bit about how this collaboration with Cinda and with Rutland Mental Health Services has benefited the work of Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging?
Yeah, I was going to say, having Cinda come in, I mean, in multiple ways. I was telling Cinda, it began with us just thinking that we wanted counselors for our elders, but it evolved to staff support. It involved to caregiver support, so even speaking to children of the elders that they may be working with, that Cinda works with them and helps them to try to figure out how to do it. In really difficult cases of abuse and exploitation, she's been a partner with us in order to work with these clients that can be really, really difficult. And then there's even this educational piece that Cinda has become, which is that she does training for us. We do statewide training for, we'll have different mental health. There's a certification process that has to be done through the case management portion of all the AAAs, all the agencies on aging in our state. And so one of the trainings is mental health, and Cinda is the person that we use to do that training for everybody throughout the state. So it's not, their collaboration isn't just in the counseling piece of it. There's all these other factors that are going on in our agency that makes it work for us. So we really get a good bang for our buck. I always say it's not just our clients that she's serving, it's their caregivers, it's their neighbors, it's anybody who cares about them, or it's our staff, or anyway, I've said it.
Thanks.
Let me ask you, Cinda, what is it like for you also to be at the Council on Aging? What are some of the benefits you find to be in close proximity to Sandy and her folks, given that a lot of your work is done in-home and other locations, obviously outside of their offices?
The most important part for me is that when I am with someone, with a client, and I'm counseling, all I have to do is counsel now. Before, I had to case manage too. So I had to try and dig up housing resources. I had to try and dig up funding. Frankly, I wasn't as good at it as their case managers. They are very, very good at what they do. They're very well trained. And now, if I run into anything like that, I just call their case manager and say, "This person, can you help this person with this?" And they're like, "You bet." You know, I feel like I have all these people behind me to help with stuff that needs to be taken care of, but it's not really why I'm there. And I would, if they weren't there, I would do it. I would help them fill out forms. I would help make sure they didn't lose their Medicaid. I would help them move to a congregate housing site if that's what they wanted. I don't have to do that anymore. And it's also wonderful to feel like I'm part of a team. I'm not just out there on my own, because I'm not around other clinicians a lot. I'm up at the Council on Aging. I'm around case managers and Sandy and dietitians and things like that. And I learn a lot about what's available. I wouldn't know a lot of the stuff I know about what's available for clients if I didn't work up there. I had no idea there were all these resources. And because I'm up there, I've been able to collaborate with people that I wouldn't even have known about, that they were out there doing these things. So I've formed collaborations with other agencies because of the benefit of being up there. It really has enhanced my job. It is a win-win.
Yeah. I mean, I think having that's why we say we're the model, because I think having you be in our office, it proves that point really well.
Yep.
Let me ask you, what do you like best about your job? You've talked a lot about it. Obviously, you're very passionate about the work that you do. What do you like best about it?
Well, I have to admit that the best part is forming the therapeutic relationship with the client and just being allowed to come along on a part of their journey. I have to say that really lights me up. But other than that, it's collaborating. It is definitely the collaboration that I work with local physicians. I worked with the hospital. I worked with the Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging, the bus, the Evergreen, all the people, because there is quite a village to help our seniors. And being a part of that and just feeling like, wow, we have a lot to offer. We have a lot to bring to the party when it comes to helping people with their mental health issues and with their health issues. That is a thrill. You know, that there's a lot going on in Rutland. It's funny because I go to statewide eldercare meetings and I listen to what's going on in other parts of the state, and they're doing good stuff too, but I just feel like this is a resource-rich area.
And I like
and one of the reasons is because the Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging is so well run. It is a great place.
And that's where the collaboration on a previous show of Community Care Network Connections, we talked with a group from Rutland Mental Health that does trauma-informed care in the schools, and the collaborations that they have with school districts and with private mental health and medical providers has really enhanced the type of services. So that's very important, is the ability of agencies like Rutland Mental Health Services and Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging to work together.
Right. Well, because when you have everybody in the same room, they may, you might not think of a solution for a part of a problem, but somebody will say, hey, wait, we have this going on. Oh, yeah, I never even thought about that. Because it's not their specialty to know that. Or so having everybody in the same room, it just leads to different ideas or different solutions that other people might not have thought about. I think it's like you said, it's a win-win.
That's important, especially important now, Dick, because we are really seeing some tough cases.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's happening, but it seems like the cases that get referred are more complicated, more dire, and so it's really important that we work together. Right. We need each other.
Absolutely. If someone is interested in the Eldercare program, you may have a family member or someone who is watching and says, maybe I could benefit from some of these services. How do they get in touch with the Eldercare program?
I tell everybody you just have to have one number, 1-800-642-5119. If you call it from your home telephone number, it actually will route directly to our office. That's the statewide senior helpline number.
Maybe you could say that number once again.
1-800-642-5119. And you can call that number. You'll get one of our information and referral people, and they will make a referral to Cinda. They will be glad to talk to whoever calls, whether it's the client themselves or a family member or a concerned neighbor, and we will take that information and then make that referral. So it's as easy as a phone call.
And are referrals also made by medical providers, doctors, visiting nurses? I would imagine
Absolutely.
That there's that communication, for example, with RAVNA.
Oh yes, absolutely. They have made many referrals. Dartmouth Hitchcock has, our own hospital has, local physicians. Oh, they come from all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can call. So
that's
we
great.
welcome.
We try to get to
referral.
everybody.
Yep.
Good. Well, Cinda, Payton, and Sandy Conrad, I want to thank you so much for being on Community Care Network Connections and talking about the Eldercare program as an aging population in Rutland County. Cinda, as you said, having the second largest group of population being those that are elderly. This type of program is absolutely essential to the health of our community. So I want to thank you for the work that you do and for appearing on our program so that people know more about it. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I'm Dick Corsell, and you have been watching Community Care Network Connections. To learn more, you can visit the website for Community Care Network. That is at www.rmhsccn.org. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again on Community Care Network Connections.